Hello, my name is Chris, and I'm a third year economics student at the University of Nottingham, and I'm going to be speaking about my experiences of using the Careers Service. Now, I have used the Careers Service a lot, and I think the reason is that I arrived at university really without the foggiest clue of what I wanted to do after university and in a wee bit of a panic. So if you're in that boat, let my story serve as a tale that all will be well. Everything will figure itself out in the end. So without further ado, I'm just going to talk about 5 different benefits that I have gained from my interactions with the Careers Service. The first, I think, has just been support and guidance as I navigated that transition from what am I going to do to now being in the incredibly fortunate position that I have a graduate scheme lined up that I'm incredibly excited to get started on. And I think this began within my first few weeks at university when I first signed up for a careers guidance session. And this was really, really valuable, thinking about a few sensible next steps that would help inform my career decisions. And then they said, once you've done these, a couple of months' time, book in another session and we'll chat about how these things panned out. And the great thing about these careers advice sessions is that normally you're speaking to somebody who is attached to your faculty. And this meant that I was speaking to the same person as I booked different sessions over the past couple of years. And so there was somebody at the university who was really invested in my career. So the second thing that the Career Service has helped me do is appreciate the truly staggering range and array of careers that are out there. And so, for example, I went to a management, finance and consulting careers fair. And of course there was, sort of big professional services firms and the big consulting firms and some big banks and things like that. But also there was like a sort of chicken manufacturer, and there was an organisation manufacturing concrete, and there was an organisation doing aviation, and there were government departments and the kind of Met Office, and just really eccentric, interesting organisations that I'd never have thought about working for. And once I'd realised that some of these organisations existed, I could then go and go to networking events and go to employer presentations to find out much more about them. And something that's really good once you've figured out a particular sector of interest are these Spotlight On events, where the Career Service gets a bunch of interesting people from a particular industry, puts them in a room, and they speak about their experiences, how they got to where they are, any advice they'd have for people trying to break in. And I went to a few of these. I went to one on charities, I went to one on environmental organisations, I went to one on crime management and prevention, which again, I never considered that. The third thing the Career Service helped me do is get practical work experience very early on in my university career. So I happened to go along to a employer presentation from Teach First, and they highlighted that they had a taster program that was open to first years. I decided to give the application a go. I was successful, and I spent a couple of fantastic days in my Christmas of first year in the Teach First offices in London, getting practical understanding of the organisation, getting some training. It did help me realise that maybe teaching wasn't quite right for me at that moment. So I went back to university. I went to a charities and public sector careers fair, and there I went around pretty much every employer and said, hello, my name is Chris. Do you do internships for first years? And eventually I found one organisation, the Wellcome Trust, who I may well not have come across otherwise, who said yes. I said, when do applications close? They said tomorrow. So I dashed off home, submitted an application, and a couple of months later I had an offer for an 8-week paid summer internship with this amazing organisation. I got to meet some fantastic people, work on some really exciting projects. And it really showed me that, yes, this is the kind of organisation I would love to work for. The fourth thing I gained were the skills necessary to be successful in graduate job applications. These processes are sometimes quite intense, quite long, and I'd had sort of mixed success with my internship applications in second year. And so I booked into a employer-led mock assessment centre workshop, and this was really good because you were being assessed and getting feedback from people who really do run assessment centres for this high profile employer. And also I booked into a mock assessment centre run by the Careers Service directly. And then the following week I had a really in-depth chat with this mock assessor, talking about what I did well, what I did badly, and some practical steps I could take to improve my performance in future. And I really do credit those 2 experiences, plus some online resources from the Careers Service around practicing psychometric tests and things like that, with a much higher success rate than I had for my graduate applications than I did for my internships. And I think the final thing I've gained from the Careers Service overall is a huge number of opportunities and slowly the confidence to go and take them up. I was not somebody who initially was super comfortable going around a careers fair and just sidling up to employers and chatting to them. That felt kind of intimidating. But the reason I'm actually speaking to you today is that in my first couple of weeks at university, I went to a showcase for the Digital Marketing Academy. And I ended up listening to a presentation by somebody from the university's digital marketing team. And I went up to them afterwards and I asked them if there were any opportunities for me to get involved somehow. And 2 years later, as sort of a hobby, I'm still doing really interesting video stuff for the university. Normally, I should add, behind the camera rather than in front of it. I am not a vlogger by trade. I'm currently operating using a microphone that is taped to my laptop as a bit of a stand, and I'm lighting myself with a lamp that is sort of dangling from the ceiling. I will let you judge for yourself whether a career in vlogging is one I should be pursuing. And so if you are somebody who is at Nottingham or is going to be joining soon, I would just say engage with the careers service. You have no idea where you might end up. Thanks a lot. Hope this is useful.